Hey guys, can we start? Everyone with me? All right. My name is Andrej Jeleník. I work with Cisco as a systems engineer, basically with the field customers, taking care of design architecture of the solutions, which can basically help to drive a business on our customer side. It is a little bit pre-sale stuff, but also pretty deep technical, because most of the time, just proposing the solution, not only just drive some pictures, but also do the configuration and basically help our partners to implement the solution on site. What we're going to talk about today is cybersecurity. If you have some question about Cisco, if you like to know something, what we do, how we do, something like that, just let me know. We can discuss also Cisco as it is. Today I would like to talk about cybersecurity with some technical stuff. Here's my question. How much are you technical, guys? Maybe just, to see the presentation, the best for you, for understanding, stuff like that. All guys here from the technical field of study? Yeah? Yeah. You're just fan of cybersecurity. Or you were victim of some cyber threats, cyber crime? Yeah, it might happen to everyone. Doesn't matter. This presentation is not that deep technical that you should be afraid of. It's just gonna tell you how we see cybersecurity now, how we try to protect our customers and get their networks basically safe, let's say. I would start with a quotation. It's not if, it's when. Basically why. Probably every one of you have some friends, have someone around who noticed or faced some cyber threat. Is any one of you here who heard about, I don't know, ransomware or, I don't know, some trends, something like that? Worms, right? Worms are pretty historical thing, but still, if you have installed antivirus on your end station, you can see those pop-ups like another worm blocked, another worm in quarantine, stuff like that. Yeah, this still happens. I'd like to tell you it's a serious thing. Seriously, why? Because in the past it was mostly like let's play with the code, let's play with the protocols, let's find a gap in a network, let's find a gap in a system, and prove someone that I'm better than you, and I can crash your system, I can get into your network, probably steal some data, but it was not meant like that. It was mostly like I want to show someone I'm better than you. Now it's basically hackers' economy. There's a lot of money behind that. Hackers who do these things, who are focused on breach someone's system, are basically paid for that. It's not just a thing for huge organizations or let's say corporations, big business. It's also a problem for the end users and the private stuff. Here I got a slide which is pretty funny. You can see it's not a problem to pay for some service you like. I don't know, you have a friend, you don't like him, her. You're gonna just get to her account. Doesn't matter if it's Google, if it's Facebook. You can just find someone who you will pay for and they will do it for you. This is a small thing, right? The bigger thing is, for example, ask someone to program for you or prepare for you a huge threat as is exploitation or DDoS attack. What kind of reason is for that? It's basically the market. It's competitive market. Like you do something, just decide to start your own business. Doesn't matter if you sell bicycles or if you bake some rolls. Really doesn't matter. There are a lot of other people who do the same. and it's not that easy to be better, to get more customers, and to be preferred by the others. There are, of course, other ways how you can achieve and to be successful. One of the things which is quite successful now, it's to pay for some cyber threat, and cyber threat will completely stop your competitor. How we can see that? We live in a digital era, and all the things which are helping us to make something are connected using operation system. Most of those things are reporting somewhere. If you basically crash the system, you cannot bake anymore. You cannot produce the parts for the bicycle anymore. Stuff like that. Everything is business critical. And once someone stops your competitor, you get better. This is not good. Therefore, there are two sides. It's basically hacker side, hacker economy, and there is ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is basically me, my colleagues, I hope you in the future, who will try to stop those people because it's not right. How was it in the last 15 years where we are now? Cyber threat has pretty long history. It actually didn't start in 2003. 2003 is a pretty nice milestone. Do you know why? You can just read it here. Yeah. For the first time, it happened that cyber threat was used for some of a international campaign during the national conflict to basically get a lower production of something in a country which was in fire, let's say. In this particular case, it was a worm slammer which basically crashed nuke plant network in Ohio. But this is more interesting. In 2007, if you Google what happened in 2007 and who was in war at the time, Stuxnet. It's pretty common and well-known virus. Do you know, guys, what does it mean, ATP? Nope.
It's some kind of interface.
No. APT is Advanced Persistent Threat. It means before, when we faced to worms and viruses, it was pretty real-time thing. You got it to your computer, it started to do something, or I don't know, adware. Adware is a malware which you get to your computer. It gets into your system, operation system, and it's basically logging entire thing you do on your computer and sending those private data someone. If it's a keylogger, what you put on a keyboard, or if it's basically content you have on your hard drive, it can scan this, send it somewhere else behind, you know about it because it's on the background, right? ATP, it's a persistent thing for a long term. Actually for a long term. This virus was built by government. When you go to that year and look for the conflict, you'll probably get very fast which government, but it's not official yet. It's even not official. It's even not gonna be official, right? But it was developed by the government to decrease some productivity, some let's say functionality of a country as it is, and it was in Iran. This virus started on the completely other side of a globe and got to the place it was supposed to be in a couple of months. It wasn't in days, it wasn't in weeks, it was a couple of months, more than a half a year. Many ways, through the internet, through email, spam. They try to achieve, of course, employees of a company. Employees, let's say it was international. It was international planned. So they try to get into the system. Once it was there, it's basically send an alarm or just a notification to the source, and source started to produce or activate the code. The code basically started with a very, very few instructions. It was pretty easy. There is a turbine and the turbine has some cycles. Those cycles are set it for some production, and that virus hidden in the background just said 3 times per day the turbine, the cycle will increase the speed in a minimum, seriously in a minimum. It was not, they were not able to notice that in the monitoring systems or the other system which got, you know, all those greens and orange and the red signs. This was happening for some time, for another couple of weeks, until the turbine was crashed. It's a pretty tactical. It's really silent, and basically once that plants, the turbines in the plants was gone, they lost energy. They were completely, you know, blacked out for some time, and it's the best timing for producing an attack, right? So this is basically milestone we see. The cyber threat is not for fun only. It's not for proving that I understand your system more than you. It's seriously using the weapon in a war. These situations actually repeated in the future for more times. Pipeline in Turkey, or sabotage on oil giant in South Armaco, Shamon virus. I actually put it here, some names. If you like to know more, just Google it. There are a lot of references on those. The other interesting thing, Dragonfly, probably know, 2013, also a very strategical threat. Basically happened in US and EU as well, and also it was targeted to the energy sector. What you might know, probably most of you, it's a situation in Ukraine for a couple of last years, in the past years. This was also targeted to the energy sector. It caused a lot of troubles. Basically, first thing was a resulting power outage only. But the other time, year after, it was actually targeted to ICS. ICS is basically industrial control system. The first time happened that cyber threat was focused on ICS. ICS, as we know it, is related a lot to IOE, IoT. Do you know IOE, IoT, the abbreviations? Exactly. This is kind of an interesting topic nowadays. Every industry who produce something have all those intelligence robots and the machines. All of them are connected. We can use them more efficient if we, I don't know, monitor them and trying to stop them, you know, the efficient way. Stuff like that. Everything's connected. That's the point. In 2016, there was a first example that we can actually bridge this system, and well, we can do everything with the other factory. That's pretty cool. Also, very powerful weapon. It has actually a lot of influence on the end users, on the customers of the companies. In this way, it was basically outage for 200,000 plus customers, which like a pretty huge impact, I guess. If you see, you probably heard already, with the corporations or big organizations, every second, every minute is translated or equal to some money. And if you lose a service you're basically providing to your customer, they are annoyed. They are, I don't know, stopping the contracts with you, losing them. You basically losing not only the promotion, but goodwill as it is. You're losing the customer. You can basically fall down quite fast. What's a pretty hot topic now? It's Triton. Triton is another milestone for us. The first time we are noticing the breach of SIS systems. SIS is Safety Instrument Systems, which has basically even more impact to the end users than the previous ICS. Seriously, we are, or basically hackers, hacker economy is now targeting those attacks to the end users because, you know, that's the most, how to say it? Yeah. That's the part who will always complain and who will make you, or who will give you the hard times. Where we are now, what can you face to? What you heard from probably your friends or you're reading in the news. It's a ransomware. Ransomware basically can crash the business in a minute. It can basically make you sad in a minute too. But ransomware is not a thing who is just catch on your computer and it's done. It also persists for some time. Do you know some ransomware which is actual nowadays, or it was? WannaCry virus, yeah. After WannaCry, it was something else in quite short time. Petya?
Yeah.
That's the other one.
Yeah.
It was basically built with the same core. After a couple of days, couple of weeks, I guess, there were some recommendations on YouTube or on a Google how you can get your data back, but most of the victims basically just paid for that. And statistics is that more than 99% of the victims who paid just got the data back. So this is a serious business, as I said. Of course, there might be some ransomware systems or threats who will ask you for the money and will never get you the key for decrypting the data. So there's not a way. The way is prevention. You should be ready and protect your network, your end station, your smartphone, your tablet, whatever, to even get it into the device. How does it look? Basically, ransomware has a process. The process is you go to some public network which is not protected. You might get it through the email. You might click on some hyperlink where you will download the part of a code. It doesn't look like someone asks you, you want to download this or not? You want to install this or not? Not really. This might be the part of a PDF header. I don't know if you can imagine how PDF looks in a binary. It's just a code. It's just a code. You use application for the interface. Same with Word, same with the PDF, same with a lot of other stuff we use, and we know it by that, by the ending of three letters, right? Everything is basically written in binary for the processors, for RAM, for the computer parts. Also, the initial code or the short code who will initial the process is in the same language. So you can include it in a PDF file, you can include it in a, I don't know, song you download in the MP3. It really doesn't matter. This can happen. It always has some attributions, some science that it's not really the thing as it's supposed to be. You can have the tools for that who can recognize this behavior. It might be the antivirus. It might be something more advanced. We will see what we actually have, what we use. Just wanna finish the process. In the beginning, there is a downloading and installing something on the background you don't know. It persists for quite time. After that, this initial code is waiting for some instruction for the command and control, or it is basically timed for some particular time when it will ask the compromised server, the command and control server, who will give the other part of a code or give the instruction what to do. This might have many steps, not just one. I have more steps. Those more steps always end with finalizing the application. The application on the background will trying to decrypt your data, first start maybe with the building sector, then start with the data as they are. I don't know. It might have a lot of instructions within the application. So some of the ransomware are even those that intelligent that can basically recognize what kind of user is infected by that. I mean, if it's a student, if it's a CEO of a company, how? It might be by the username, right, which is within the operation system. It might be by the character of the data. After that, basically, when your data are decrypted, you will get a notice or you will get a message like this. There is some countdown which will show you, or which will give you the time to make a decision. Because if you are not limited by the time, you will never decide. If the time is limited and you see probably, I don't know, your university students, so you probably already have a lot of valuable data on your devices. I don't know, some scientific projects, some projects, I don't know, baccalaureate theses. Maybe some of them are already working on final thesis. So we might be there. Can you imagine then you lose, just for example, 3 or 4 or 5 days hard work? You just didn't go for any party, you didn't go for a nice walk, you just worked 5 days at home and suddenly you get a message. You will seriously think to pay for that. The other important thing is the amount of money they are asking from you. And this is the part where most of these ransomware systems are so intelligent that they can make a decision how much money you are going to be able to pay. If you are, for example, I don't know, leading person of a faculty, of course there might be more private or more valuable data on the computer. They will just try to find out your identity, and by that they will decide how much money they will ask. If you are a student and they see, okay, I have a lot of words here, I have some PDFs, I might have some downloaded video or some downloaded music, okay, I can ask for, I don't know, $50. $50 is a reasonable price, they will pay for that and I got it. If I have 1,000 of them, it's pretty nice money. But if I see the documents which might be more valuable, I will ask more money, right? This is basically how it works. Let's have a check what we can do to not get there. From now, I will start. Yeah. Till now it was like an introduction. How is the world now? It's not safe, and there is a lot of threat. It's not only relevant for a huge business. It's also relevant to us, the end users. If you have some experience, we'll be pretty happy if you can share with me. Nothing. Every one of you use the antivirus on the laptop, right? Did you notice some blocking, some quarantining files you're downloading, whatever? It's functional. Do you know it's functional? Do you updating the system? Yeah. Yeah. Do you updating the system, or are you sure that the automatical update it's on the antivirus? It's very important. It's very important. I will show you later why. Every threat is basically letting on a digital space some digital footprint. The digital footprint, by the digital footprint, we can basically identify the threat, and the threat can be blocked by the knowledge we have. The knowledge we have needs to be up to date. That's why the updates on antivirus on the end station are very, very important. The other question, are you aware how much information are, for example, Google or Facebook collecting about you? There is a quite nice message which is basically flying around in the news or in some informational portals, which is discussing the thing that you can go to personal settings in Facebook, in Google, and you can download your archive. The archive should consist every single information they are collecting, but well, might be various, right? They still can keep what they want. But still, have you tried, some one of you, to download, for example, the archive from Google? No? My case. With the Gmail, I have about 5.5 gigabytes storage. I mean, this is my used storage. I have some gallery on Picasa albums. It's another, I would say, 3 gigabits. The archive I downloaded from the Google, it's 12 gigabits. So can you imagine what else is there? I really not. Basically, I see how much space is used in my Gmail because, well, I can imagine thousands of messages, some attachments, whatever. I have some pictures which has, of course, some which are actually getting some space, but it's still information. I have how much it is. Like still, I cannot imagine. Basically, I downloaded it today, so I didn't have a time to go through it. I went through Facebook Archive, and Facebook Archive is brilliant. I have to say seriously, it's brilliant. It's sorted to the folders. You can go through indexed. You can go through HTML file, which is lovely indexed by the every single message you ever sent, by the every single picture you had, with the comments also, and stuff like that. Have a look for it. It's easy. You will download it in a zip or RAR archive. Open it, and everything's sorted out just for you. I love it. Basically, from the morning, like 9 a.m. Till early 2 p.m., I was deleting information from the Facebook. And I thought I didn't have much there, but yeah, I just realized it's just even more that I wanted to share. I'm pretty looking forward to check the Gmail archive later, or basically Google. So Gmail is Google, right? Check these things. Be aware. If you are informed about the things which are happening around now, you can always be a step ahead. Today, it might be information from me. Let's check your accounts. Tomorrow, it might be information. Someone robbed database of the Facebook again, right? So just react on the stuff which are interesting. I mean, in this field, in a cybersecurity, because it's really dynamic field. Other thing, how many of you use two-step authentication, two-factor authentication? Okay, about half. What the other half? Do you actually know? Ask if you don't know what's a two-step authentication. Just ask. It's important. Someone? Nope. Okay. You don't know? Yeah, two-step authentication is the first step is always put in the credentials, login and a passport. Okay, so there is a huge science about passport, how it should look like. It shouldn't be a name and number. It should be more complex. It really doesn't matter now. The second part is important because the second part is pretty specific. You have your cell phone. You might have a Google Authenticator application in it, which generates you in time a very unique number, usually six digits, something like that. And you will put it there, use it. Yeah. All right. Probably now more hands be raised. This is very important because when you use just your login and your password, seriously, the security is somewhere here. There are a lot of mechanisms, a lot of methods how to find out the password. I mean, if you go through vocabulary tag, like trying to put some phrases, actually it's a dictionary, not vocabulary tag. It's a dictionary tag. You can use the database of phrases, put it there. We have a lot of processing power today. Computers are not lazy anymore. They can process a lot of actions within milliseconds. So this is not a problem. You can go through or you can use brute force, trying many different combinations. You can get a password pretty easily now. If you say, I haven't heard of anyone who can basically make this happen or who know how to do this, you can do it yourselves if you invest some time to Google and to find the information. Seriously. Therefore, second or two-factor authentication is much better because your passport, you will change it after a while. You will come back to the old password if you don't have any more, creativity to make a new one. You use the same password on the different portals, right? It's happening. It's nothing strange. Some of you might use the application for storing passports, and you are not remembering that. Is it true? No? There is a Passkeeper. If you use Apple, there is a keychain who is basically keeping or giving you an ideas for the new passports when you're registering somewhere. It's important. It's a thing you don't need to care about remembering the passports anymore, and you can really have the safe passports. I mean, the complex passports.
So you're giving it anyway? Like
yeah, actually, KeePass, it's free. Oh, I can do it the way when I'm discussing something like this, giving you some recommendation or some recommendations of a software which is handy to use. I will include it in the end of a presentation, the last slide, and you can check it out by yourself later, all right? Okay. It's gonna work? Cool. This is one way. You can just let the password management for some of the applications. Of course, you have to choose the right one and the safe one. So I just put it to Google, the password management, and I will download the first one, install it, and put everything I have there. Just read some reviews, ask friends. The best thing is a recommendation from someone who is satisfied with the program, right? For myself, I use the native keychain in the MacBook. I have synchronized that thing with my iPhone. I don't remember any of my passwords. I have just unique identification for getting to the management, right? Master password, exactly.
So what happens if you try to log into those services which doesn't support keychain, or if you are wanting to try to access those things from an external terminal, and if you don't have the support for keychain, then how would you log in then?
This is the thing. That's why I do the synchronization with my phone, with my cell phone. I always have my cell phone with me.
But
I can basically...
when you would not have anything and you wanted to log into something,
then I'm not gonna log in. Yeah. I was thinking about this, but always, cell phone is something you live with 24 hours per day.
it happened with me actually. I use
Yeah.
LastPass, if you have any idea of that.
Yeah, I know.
Time that I had to log into something.
Yeah.
I had no browser extension for that. I had no phone because the way I was
Mhm.
located, it was not possible for me, and I was completely logged out from my own application.
Yeah. If you centralize the passports this way, just be sure that you always has access to the management, because otherwise, seriously, you go to the library, use a public computer, you don't have any information how to get to your email, you will never get there. So yeah, that's the other side of a thing. But still, passport management is one stuff. It's nice, but I'm pretty sure some of you will check it, most of you will not install it. Get at least the information about two-factor authentication. It's super cool. I mean, as I said, login and password is somewhere here with the security. When you go with the two-factor authentication, you're multiplied many times up. It's much more difficult for someone who trying to achieve the access to your Facebook account. If he doesn't have any access to your phone, well, you will get a unique number, unique token number. Definitely go for it. It's supported on the most common sites, like, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, whatever else you might have on mind, it's there. I didn't find any of those common applications or common websites, this functionality for now. Okay, let's go to the process. This is from around us, what's happening. Be aware of it. Try to secure as much as possible. if you have any questions or if you have any problem, I don't know, using some application, don't know how to secure it, you think the data you're storing there are sensitive, you can ask me, you can ask the other expert specialists you will meet. Definitely someone will help you with that. Just don't do it away. Well, probably nothing will happen. If it's really sensitive for you, always do the backup. Be sure the backup is safe. Always be sure that your password is up to date, is complex. That to be sure a little bit that you will not be a victim for the sure future, because it's happening quite often. Hackers are not getting to your computer or to your accounts just because you are interesting and they want to achieve information from you. Most of the time, you are on the way where they want to get. For example, to the university network, right? Someone might get to the university network. How to get there better than through the students? Or if someone wanna get to CEO of a company computer, which is every day connecting to the corporate network. Of course, there are many ways. Social engineering. I will buy 10 USB sticks, put a couple of scripts in it, and just throw it on a parking place in front of a company. Definitely, there will be one stupid guy who will take it and put it to the corporate computer, to the corporate asset, and I'm just there. It's not just from TV shows. It's real. And basically, the social engineering is gonna be problem also in 10 years, I guess, because mostly the problem is in between the chair and the computer. And for us, for security administrators or for security guys, the end users are the biggest threat ever, because they are clicking on a hyperlinks. They are clicking on various advertisements, pop-up windows, and installing the crazy stuff. So yeah, it's like that. Let's go to check how we're trying to solve the security, how we see the security, what does it mean for us from the network perspective. There is always the process of attack. As I said, footprint. Each cyber threat has a couple of stages. The first stage, recon, or basically the research. If you want to do some threat, if you want to attack on someone, you will probably research how to do so, what kind of resources you have, what is better to use, stuff like that. This stage definitely leaves some digital footprint. When you go to the second stage, okay, I see I want to attack there because of that. I will find my weaponization, or I will find my weaponry and do the weaponization. I will consider what kind of tools are the most, or might be the most successful for me. When I have done this part, I go to delivery. This might be basically created, or this might happen in my private space. I definitely go through internet because I'm not going to research information to library anymore, even if it's nice. And it's very nice, but usually you just open your computer, go to Google or Wikipedia, and find information much faster there, because book just doesn't have Control F and stuff like that, right? I always leave some digital footprint. When I have done this part, I go to delivery. I have prepared tools, let's say malware, which is targeted on something, but I have to get to the targeted destination. It might be the network, when I have another instruction to go through it and find the place, or I just need to open the grid. You probably heard, and I mentioned it there. There is one type of attack which name is DDoS. Any one of you know what DDoS is? That's basically the abbreviation definition. And colleague here wanted to say?
No, it's absolutely.
Is this thing? All right. The DDoS attack is basically made by the grid of clients with computers, which are sending the special request. It might be very simple request at once, at the same time, to the destination where you want to flood the system. It's very easy, and it's 100% effective if your grid is huge enough and you have enough clients. You can do it basically in a minute, and you will crash the system in a destination you're targeting to. Delivery is very important, so you have basically prepared the environment, how to get there, and then the installation. Installation might be the many ways. We already mentioned a couple of those. This process attack is for us very important for security analytics, for the CERT guys. CERT is basically cybersecurity incident response team who are taking care and looking for some behaviors or some threat which might be potentially like a risky for the company or for the environment I work with. These stages are very important for us because every one of those is very special and giving us the different science that something is happening, something is preparing. We can use those footprints, digital footprints, which are there to predict something's going to happen. And usually those footprints are so specific that we can find out before the attack happens how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen, and to whom or to where it is targeted. It's not always, but I will tell you the story about WannaCry. WannaCry was one of the most powerful ransomwares we basically noticed in the history of digital era. Seriously, why? Because it was silent. It was, at the moment, was spread so wide that suddenly many corporations, many huge businesses were crashed down in the same day, just in the morning where they started the business. Here in Czech Republic, I know a couple of customers who didn't buy the solution, and that's the reason why, or who were testing the solution, just not in production. That was a little bit pity, right? But still, I just want to tell you, with one of the systems we have, it calls Umbrella. I'll show you, or I'll describe it a little bit in a couple of minutes. We can predict the behavior. We can see there are some dynamically created domain names, servers, hosts, which are doing something strange. We are monitoring the peaks, what is the response, how they are, let's say, occupied, how they are used. If there is something new and suddenly is used and peak is like that, there might be something. If you see around a lot of other domains who are connected to this and spreading some information, you don't check the information, you don't really need that, and you don't have a permission to do so. But still, you can see the behavior of the internet if you have the service like that. We did this. We find out that there is a set of dynamically created domains somewhere. Of course, you check geographical location, like GeoIP and the other functionality we currently have. And we found out that might be suspicious. And prevently, we basically blocked that for our customers. The week, not really a week, but 5 days after, it just boomed and it was out. We saw what happened, and suddenly our customers started to writing us what they can do to protect against the threat. And at the time, we already knew that basically they cannot do anything more they already have done, because they were prepared. They did the prevention. They had a tool who basically blocked the threat, the problem, who solved the problem before it happened. This is the reason why, because we can monitor the process of attack. Okay, now I have a little bit more. It's not gonna be good news for you, but now I have a little bit more technical slides. I don't wanna make you fall asleep or just not paying attention. Just let me know when there is something interesting for you more. We can spend more time with that. It's a little bit more architectural or design point of view, how the network looks like, what kind of part, perimeters and vectors, are there, how the attacker can get into the network. This is basically the thing how Cisco see the problematic of the cybersecurity. There are three pillars. The first pillar is what to do before. Of course, before, the main thing is prevention, to be ready, to have a tools. Here are those tools. I don't really want to go specifically through it because I have other slides where we're going to through it. But still, you probably know firewall. It's just the main part of the security. Usually it's dividing the private and the public space of a network. Like through the firewall, you are connected by the service provider, you're getting to internet. And behind that, it's your private network. There are other identity services engines, decryption stuff. We'll see. There is a pillar during. During, we can imagine like someone is attacking us, someone is attacking my environment. I still can do something, right? On the perimeter, I can have a tool which can block the real-time traffic, right? This might work too. And there is, of course, after pillar. After pillar is saying us or getting us to the situation that we basically were a victim of some cyber threat. Someone helped us or we helped ourselves. We get rid of it, but still our environment is destroyed. There is a lot of rubbish which just stay there after the attack, and we need to remediate our system back to functionality how it was before. So there are also tools for this pillar, mostly like monitoring tools, which can on the timeline tell us at this very moment someone was patient 0, downloaded the threat, and this is basically the 0 day when it happened, and it was spread through, I don't know, SMB protocol through the network. Yeah, SMB is a stuff. It's a native Windows protocol who is sharing data through the network. That's how WannaCry, for example, if someone got it to the corporate network, no one else just needed to go to the internet anymore and download it again. It was spread locally on the local network area by the SMB protocol, mostly on Windows because SMB is the Windows protocol. Yeah, this is the point. We should have knowledge of all three pillars because all three pillars are different, and we can do something before something happened. We can do something during, and we definitely need some tool after because remediation is very important. This is how it works. I will start with like a less complex thing, which is basically antivirus on the end station, and the main perimeter. The main perimeter we can basically see as the edge in between private and a public network. There are some end users. There are some roaming users. Who is a roaming user, guys?
Cell phone users?
Not really. Let's imagine the organization in one building, and you are personally in it. Then you are end user for the company. When you just get your corporate asset, it might be the tablet, it might be the computer, and you go to the cafeteria outside, you are a roaming user. And roaming user might be connected to the internal network because of some services are allowed only in an internal network. We'll get there in a minute. Antivirus. Antivirus is the basic thing and basically the last chance we can get rid of some threat from our endpoint stations. It's always good to have it. There are various complexity of those applications, of those programs. Some of them has more functionality. Some of them just use comparing the signatures. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. From the database, some of them use the polymorphic comparison. So the database, the asset is much bigger. Some of them do the dynamic analytics and stuff like that. You probably know these are the most famous and most popular for the end users at home. For example, I don't know, the Avast is a Czech one. AVG, I guess, as well. asset. It's a Slovak, and they're basically pretty cheap, and they can, I mean cheap like by price. They are of course on a pretty good level of a security. I'm getting to the other solution, which might be effective, or which end user might be interesting to use. It's the Umbrella. We call it Umbrella. Before it was OpenDNS, but the character of this tool, it's why I want to talk about it. First line of protection. Any one of you knows what DNS is? Yeah, something like that. Okay, it really doesn't matter. DNS is a service which is basically translating IP addresses to the domain names that you can just put to your browser, google.com, and you don't need to put the IP address of it. There are global, well-known DNS services. Most of your providers, internet service providers, are giving their own DNS services. They own DNS IP addresses. If you are here in Czech Republic using O2 or BUPC, something like that, your router has natively pre-configured DNS addresses of the provider. But there are on that level, you can do the protection with the third-party DNS services. There is a Cisco third-party cloud service with a specific IP addresses. Definitely go to the internet website, which is shown over here, which is basically allow you to send all your traffic you do from your device. If it's a cell phone, if it's a computer, if it's whatever you have, which is able to connect to the internet. It's sent through the cloud. The cloud can scan the communication. Don't be afraid, not just scan and listen, but just scan and tell you you're requesting to destination, which has bad reputation. The reputation is bad because we are monitoring that for quite a long time, as for example the WannaCry servers, and it will just stop the communication and let you know this is not good way, you shouldn't go there. This is the native thing. What does it do? The other thing is, for example, you can use the services, or you can use the profile, which is basically published on the website. You can use it free for your home, for example. You can set up forwarding of your DNS addresses from your computer directly, or just log to your router you have at home, and change it right there. That's much safer, because everything what goes through the router are going to the cloud, and cloud can basically secure the communication. The other functionality it has in the future, if you're gonna have families, or maybe you have families already, you will have a kids, you will definitely care about the content which basically they can browse through the internet, right? So over here through the service, which for the end user, for the home is free, in a centralized management, you can choose the categories you would like to block, and you will not allow for a local network. It's a pretty much hot topic nowadays, because internet is full of rubbish. And now I'm not talking about the cyber threat. You know, there is a lot of tools which can help you with this, to have the content of internet at home under control. The Umbrella is one of it. For the company, or from the enterprise perspective, it brings a lot of more. You can use a client on the end station, and you can secure the roaming user to be always protected, and to not get to the situation that someone is bored, or just concerned in the open space area within the office, and he's going outside to the cafeteria and connect to the unsecured hotspot, get something and bring it to the company. So you can use this service always on the computers, even if they leave the safe network. All right. The other things we have here, I will speed up a little bit. The other things we have here is a combination of VPN. Do you know VPN? All right. VPN is basically the connection from the endpoint, the secured connection to some destination, to some safe LAN. How you can get a VPN easily? You can basically buy it from the provider of antivirus now. Or if you have more money and you're more skilled, you can buy some of the firewalls at home, put it on the router you have or behind the router you have, create your own safe personal LAN, and connect from everywhere with your device, like laptop or mobile phone, to your home first, and do the internet breakout from home. So you're always identified like you are getting out from your personal LAN. It's pretty cool, and if you're sure your home network is safe and you have the the firewall, the small one, you can use at home, do it. But other way around, if you want to be sure and use the VPN safely, there are a lot of services you can buy. I don't know, for 50 Czech crowns per month, I think something like that, from Avast and the others. It's pretty cool. Why to use it for you guys? I'm definitely sure you do a lot of internet banking transactions through the application on the cell phone, for example, on a computer. It happened to you already that you went through some, I don't know, hotel or some cafeteria connected to the hotspot, and you had on my, okay, I have to pay for the gas or something, and I just open the internet banking and just pay for that from public network? Nope. Don't do that. It's not safe. Rather just wait and do it home, or do it from the cell phone if you are connected to the internet service provider. It's much more safe than if you do it from the hotspot. The best way, do it on some protected network, maybe in school if you think it's safe. Or, you know what I mean. I go to the next generation firewall, which is basically termination of the VPN. Let's go further. The VPN has or use the many different techniques. It might be I don't know, the decrypted communication tunnel. You can use the different variations of the decryption. For example, Cisco has a client which is unified, and with one client on the end station, you can basically get a lot of other services. The VPN is one of it. Then you can go, for example, for the umbrella services with the web security. It can has this client actually allows to the other system to scan your computer, see if there are not some special vulnerabilities in your applications you use. If you have the actual patches or the operation system, if it's actual, if you have installed the end station protection and stuff like that. Why we actually go for this approach? Because all the administrators, if they hear you have to install another client, they'll go crazy because install the client, for example, to 5,000 the endpoints, and don't use a tool for that because it's not very common. It's super cool when you have the set of tools which can basically install from remote, but it's not always the case. So definitely the unified agent on the end station is a pretty cool thing. AMP is another product of Cisco. It's advanced malware protection, which someone used to say it's similar to antivirus, but it's much more than the antivirus. As I said, antivirus is usually somewhere here. It's comparing one-to-one signature It sometimes do some fuzzy fingerprinting. That's the recognition of a polymorphic attributes, which might basically be similar with some signatures we already have, and it grows in the database much faster. But AMP4 endpoint or advanced malware protection has also other things like a machine learning. Have you ever heard of machine learning? Yeah. It's not something science fiction at the moment. Machine learning, it's just a lot of math and algorithms who are trying to set how your network is basically behaving in a default. So it knows how your, for example, the end station is communicating somewhere. You do a lot of things like repeatedly. So okay, this is the default state of the station. We can do machine learning on entire network level. So we can basically set the default environment or default status of the environment for the entire network. When you see some anomalies in a default state, right away you know something is happening and you can focus on that. The other things, indication of compromise. For us, it's a value which tell us this client is problematic. It had some problems with the thread before. The indication of compromise might set the value for you, and then you will be identified by the value in the network. So it brings a lot of opportunities for us for the other tools, because we know that we have some more information about the computer, about the user. It's pretty cool. Sometimes it's really difficult to say something simple. As usually, when I work with the customers and trying to describe them this functionality, or some administrators, some technical people, like really deep technical people, they have a lot of questions. How does it work? Like very often we're looking to the not really code, but to the management, see the settings, so what we can basically do with it, and how we can set it up. And say it by one compiled message. By one compiled message, it's a pretty tough for me now. But you can imagine what is that. We are collecting the information of the end station, of a statue of end station. If there was some threat before, if there are some vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities might be depending on a type of browser, on a type of antivirus, of a type of operational system and stuff like that. Always keep your applications up to date. And there are other things. The other things, the most interesting, probably dynamic analytics. Have you ever heard of a sandbox? Yeah. Some of you might play computer games. There is a sandbox too. Okay, sandbox is an isolated space, isolated environment where we basically can test something. In this particular case, for us, it means if I see, or my agent on the end station notice there is something obvious about the file I'm downloading to the computer, because as I said, every single file is just a set of a code or a list of a code written in some language. If we see some anomaly there, we can basically send the file right away to the sandbox, to the isolated space, isolated environment, and test it. Test it like pinch it in a needle and looking and waiting for what's gonna happen now. After a couple of seconds, minutes, doesn't matter if actually matters how complex it is, we can get a result, and by the result we will allow the file to the computer or not. This approach is tricky, because you as an end user can imagine if you are downloading something from the internet and suddenly someone stops you and say, wait, because I'm doing some analytics and I'm analyzing the file, you will get annoyed. Usually it's like we pass through the file, but there is a sample which is going to the Dropbox. It's going to the sandbox, and after a while, I will let the end station know, block this file or just let that file be. That's usually the approach. And of course, correlations. As we are collecting these kind of information from the many endpoints, I can correlate it and get the one more informative piece of information from it. Okay, we moved, or something more popped up there. Next generation firewall. Next generation firewall is now consists of much more functionalities than just inspection of protocols and ports. Usually it is an intrusion prevention system, this active scan which is going through the packets. It's basically scanning the communication and again looking for some anomalies. It's able to react in real time. We have advanced malware protection on the network, on the firewalls. So we don't do the check only on the endpoints, like to check the files which I'm downloading, but we can also do it on a network level. So we can check files which are going through the firewall, and we can decide if it's safe or not. And the other things, for example, URL filtering, as I said, by using categorization, you can filter some kind of content from the network, and so on and so on. There is a really a lot of things about it. Just in very short explanation, with a typical IPS, we are looking for threats. With the typical next generation firewall, we are looking for threats. We know users, we know applications, because we're looking for, or we are checking the communication on a seventh layer, which is application layer. And we also can identify the web applications and see the file transfer. As I said, we do the scan of files. But Cisco next generation firewall, I really don't want to sell the Cisco firewalls to you now, all right? I just want to tell you, we are the company who are not producing only security solutions. And Cisco is well known by the switches and routers and servers, stuff like that. And when you go with the one vendor, you have one advantage if you go with the many different vendors, and that's compatibility. Compatibility is something which can automate the processes, which can give you more visibility, which can basically make things easier and integrate much more easier. That's the reason why Cisco firewalls with the Cisco network devices can see much more, and the visibility is much wider. We can see the servers. We can basically recognize the specific units within the network. Some of the threats, there are a lot of threats which are focused on a specific environment. You probably heard there are IPv4 space, there are IPv6 space, there are SCADA space with communication with IoT stuff. There are much more, and every single environment has a different threat. Yeah, basically as a Cisco do everything from the scope, we can see and we can focus much easier everywhere. That's pretty cool. And I mean, it's easy to say it. It's much more fascinating to see it as it works. This is how it looks in the management. We see a lot of information. We see a lot of information about the clients. This is actually the indications of a compromise. The indication of a compromise is set it into the impact table. Of course, higher impact, lower impact. Then administrator can focus on the most important thing. There are security intelligence, network visibility. You see what kind of operating systems you have in your computer, what kind of versions. You can do some action if you see there are some old versions. I don't know, you can see the traffic by risk. For example, the higher risk, it's with browsing with Opera because of some actual vulnerability and stuff like that. It's pretty wide. The other thing is we have specific space within a corporate or enterprise network. It's a data center. Data center is usually storing the servers with the applications. You probably saw the corridors with a full of LEDs blinking around, and noise from air conditioning, stuff like that. That's a data center. Data center also needs the own inspection. Why? Because it is entire. It's a different perimeter. It might sit inside a network, inside a local network area, but usually it's separated because of the services and because of a segmentation of a network. Have you ever heard what segmentation of a network is? Just a short example. You don't want to have seating the printers in the same network, seating the key application servers, right? That's a segmentation. So you will put it to the different VLAN, you will put it to the different, VRF communication. There are a lot of different methods how you can segregate your network. Segmentation is very, very important nowadays. Data center has to be separated from the other users, let's say, because if user has an access to data center, it might be catastrophe. Identity services engine, very, very important thing. What does it bring to us? Contextual information. Nowadays, there are a lot of companies who are completely blind what kind of devices, what kind of users are in their network. Do you want it? Nope. You want to be aware what kind of users, what kind of devices you have within a network, and you can get that information by the Identity Services Engine. Have you ever heard of .1x functionality, AAA server, something like that? Okay, I'm not gonna tell more about it, but it's a service which basically in the access, doesn't matter if you connect to the wireless or if you connect to the switch, it identifies you by something or against something. Against something is usually identity database. With the identity management, identity database is something like Active Directory from Microsoft, Radius, whatever. It's a database which stored your username, some other information, and password, for example. Most of the companies has it. There are a lot of companies which doesn't have it at all. It's important. Once you have this solution within the network, you are always aware who can get to the network and what is the permission for the client to the network. You can define, for example, students can browse the internet, can reach the mail server, can reach some internal applications, but cannot reach the application which is used by your lecturers, your professors, right? This is a point within a more structured organization is even more important because the guy who is working on the reception has no idea what's happening in the data center or hasn't any reason to use business applications which are used by the management, right? So this is the tool which is giving us contextual information just for imagination. How does it work? This is a pure context awareness. Someone is connected on the IP address with some MAC address. It's really not informative for me, and I cannot do any audit with that anymore in the future. If I see all this information about the client I have within the network, it's much more interesting, right? And that's just a part, man. This is much more. I mean, by the contextual data, which company gonna watch on you when you start to work in the corporation or some other types of a company. This is basically the table, the metrics, how it looks when you see it, or how you define the politics, which are looking for the information and getting it from the device and from the access layer, from the switches and wireless access points. This is basically the management. How does it look for administrators? I see in real time how many endpoints are active or are connecting within some time frame. I can see the endpoint categories, which is basically I can sort them to the different groups. Network devices, also is very important. If you have more administrators, you have more devices within the network, you just don't have one password and one login to do the configurations everywhere, right? You need to separate the accesses and always do the audit. What was actually done by whom and when? So this is a solution for that. The other thing, web and email security. That's another vector, which is basically still, and it's already for about the 20 years, the primary vector who actually get the most of the rubbish to the network. Why? Email might be a little bit old school for you now, but still 90% of the communication by every corporation which is successful now, 90% of the communication is done by email still. Also web, it's not something you are happy to have, it's something you need to have. It really doesn't matter what kind of role you do. And there are of course roles which cannot work with internet at all. So web and email, what we can do on the web and email security gateways, we can have a separate anti-spam, antivirus. We can sort the spam directly on the perimeter. It will even not get to the end station, to the client email box. We can scan files, advanced malware protection you already know. We can check GRAML detection, outbreak filters. All those things are tools for get rid of stuff like phishing, or to emails who are sent by someone else, and they are pretending that they are someone else. If you know what I mean. For example, you get an email. For example, your boss is asking you for some private information, but you don't know. You just open it, it's your boss, but suddenly completely other person send it to you because you just want to achieve the information. This is happening quite often. There are gateways or tools for that within the network who can very efficiently actually work with this stuff. It might be even more complex. I will skip this. Just will show you the example. Examples are always interesting. This is regular website, how you know it now. This is regular background of the website, how you probably don't know it. Every single part of a website, how it is set it up or put it in a cascades or HTML code or some PHP script, something like that. Every single content is basically a file. Most of the things you see, there are graphical things like the pictures. There are a piece of the pictures, it's a puzzle. There are Flash applications. There are Java applications. There are regular EPG files or the other formats of a pictures. There are a lot of scripts, and there are of course also some .bin or .exe files as well. All of these files needs to be scanned somehow, because if we take it as a content, every single of those might be a threat for me. So we do that scan on a perimeter, same as a firewall, which is connected to the internet and private network, the edge. We went through all the pillars like before, during and after, and now we have some advanced tools. I don't know if it's the right time to go through complex stuff like that, but very shortly I will introduce you the analytics tools which are working with the network information, which are there for ages and were not used for quite a long time. It calls NetFlow. Have you ever heard of NetFlow before? Every single switch, router, and the other network device is producing the flow, of course, flow of communication. Mostly we use it as a packets or frames, stuff like that, but in general it's a flow. And basically each flow has a stamps, has headers, has other attributes, which we can actually collect and do the correlations with that. For this functionality or for this purpose, we have NetFlow sensors, NetFlow collectors, centralized management, which is giving us another point of view of a security within the network. We are collecting the flows from everyone, from every single computer device which is connected to the network, from every single switch, access point, wireless controller, server, router, and whatever you might know else within the network. Getting into the one place and doing advanced analytics. The system is intelligent. It has its own security intelligence. It knows events. It knows how specific threat is behaving, looking for anomalies, doing the machine learning, and giving us the alarms and giving us the awareness that something might happen within my network, some computer might be infected, something like that. Really easy to understand is, for really easy example of this is basically the airport, right? You go to the airport, first you go to check in, you put your identity, your passport, the airport already knows you're there by your identity, your personal identity. Then you go through scanner. So we did the scanner. Well, for us, the check-in is identity services engine. You put the identity. Then you go through scanner. You go through the firewall. You go through the advanced malware protection. So everything you have with you is scanned, which is what stuff is not allowed. It was stopped just right there. And otherwise, everything was allowed is going with you. Once you are within the airport hall, you are monitored by the cameras from everywhere. There is not a centimeter of a space which is not monitored. That's the NetFlow scanner. That's the NetFlow tool, which is basically monitoring everything what's happening within a network. It's like an airport, right? And then you need to leave. Again, you have some check-in. Then you come. Then you basically arrive somewhere, and another check-in and check-in and check-in. And that's, we can imagine as an airport. Our network is an airport. You need to be checked many times. This tool is pretty amazing. We had some tools which working with the NetFlow before, but this one is focused on a security. And now, as we have a lot of knowledge about security, we can do it quite efficient. This tool, it's also integrated with the other tools, cognitive analytics. I put it here just because these guys and this development team is sitting in the Karlovo náměstí here in Prague. Very, very smart. If you have, I don't know, any ambitions to get to the internship in really, really interesting environment, these guys are looking for interns quite often. Now you have contact on me, or through your professor you can contact me, and I can let you know. Seriously, it's one of the top development teams I have ever met. They are working basically with the weblogs. There is a lot of science behind that. I'm not going to start with that. They're working with the weblogs, combining with the NetFlow, the logs from the network, and they're doing crazy stuff with that. Mobile device management, another tool which is helping us to monitor the corporate asset as a cell phones, tablets, company computers, stuff like that. Know basically everything, allow or deny to installing some applications, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And it gives us also the location capabilities. So, for example, within this faculty, you have a school asset, like, I don't know, some computer in a study rooms or whatever. With the MDM on those devices, the administrator of the faculty knows if someone takes it with you going out of the building. That's one of the examples how MDM works. Identity Services Engine and IDM integration. I'll skip this, and I will go directly to the last topic, or to closing. Logs are everywhere, as we said, or as I said, and you heard. Every single tool, every single solution, which is giving us the entire architecture of a cybersecurity, is producing logs. It's just up to the customer, up to the user, how efficiently you can use those logs, and what kind of information you can get from those logs. About everything we have mentioned today, like the endpoint protection, the firewalls, the Identity Services Engine, or analytic tools, there is sitting CM. CM is basically Security Information and Event Management, which is a tool application who can collect every single log you have produced by the security tools within the network. Another thing is the science which is behind the CM, because usually CM is prepared with a couple of functionalities as a default, but you need a smart guy who will basically, I wouldn't say program, but script the triggers, which will, for example, inform us about the events, about the failures, and so on. Very easily to show how does it work. We have firewalls, we have IPS systems, we have routers, switches, VPNs, we have web servers, we have application logs. Everything can be collected on a CM level, and these are basically the things we can do within the central engine. We can do a lot of algorithms and do the triggers for some alerts, which will be sent to administrators. We can prepare dashboards for monitoring, active monitoring in real time. We can do data mining. Probably no data mining. The big data is another scope, very, very wide and very, very popular nowadays. You can set some alerts, alarms, or you can do some further correlations. Correlations, I mean, you can get even more when you collect and combine the logs from the different systems. This is how it looks usually. Very colorful, very informative. Of course, the company usually needs another working power employee who will sit and watch that. This is basically entire concept I had today for you. We went through 3 pillars. We started somewhere here. We go through more complex tools and solutions, and all together as a puzzle is bringing us to some complex solution. Why like that? You've probably heard about cybersecurity law. It's very discussed nowadays within organizations, not only in the public sector, also in the private and commercial. Cybersecurity law basically describe the guidance, or making a guidance to the company's organizations, how to get the proper setup for the cybersecurity and secure the network the proper way. All these components we were discussing today are there. There might be defined even more because, for example, Identity Services Engine, as I said, is working with the identity database, identity store. There might be physical security as well as a camera, surveillance cameras, and things like that. But from the digital world, this is the concept of the cybersecurity. If you have any ideas, you can just tell me. I'm open to any ideas. But if you have any questions, just ask now or send me an email. I might appear here in the future again. If you like, if you don't, I will not. And we can discuss more. This topic is just so broad. The 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, it's a very short time. I hope you get at least a nice overview. There is a lot of things. What I want to say in the end, cybersecurity should be simple, open, and automated. Simple, the tools, the managements, the interfaces should be for people who can basically work with that quite easy. I mean, even more complex it is, less people will do it. Open, I mean, one vendor solution. It's just a fairy tale, right? Mostly within an organization, there are more vendors. You buy servers from EMC, you buy applications from SAP, you buy network from Cisco, you go for security with someone else. There are a lot of cool people, cool vendors who produce the security. But if it's open, it can work together. And if it integrates, it can be automated. If it's automated, we are getting back to the simple. The administrator are getting rid of a lot of work, because a lot of work can be done by the system itself, right? Do you know, guys, about Cisco Networking Academy? Some of you? Yeah? Cisco Networking Academy is in your faculty, in this university. It's a really great start to the topic we discussed. If you are interested in computer networks, Cisco Networking Academy is always bringing the up-to-date information, and it will learn you, or professional lecturers will teach you how to work, how to configure a switch, router, whatever. It's for a semester. I'm pretty sure you can get the information from leading people in the faculty. I went through it. All of my colleagues who are in this field went through it. There are a lot of levels. You can go from associate to professional to expert. This is a thing in the end of the university, when you're getting a diploma and some certification you passed, you might think you will not go to learning mood anymore because you have studied a lot and it's done. Really not. If you want to be a specialist, if you want to be successful, you will always have to learn a lot. I have to say, I learn much more nowadays in a real world, in a real working life than before. But you will just get used to it. So no worries. There are a lot of courses. Some of them are already available on your university. Some of them might appear in the future. For example, there is a very new one, cybersecurity operations. We will discuss this with your leads here, and it might appear. When you can get the actual the actual information or the updates, it's a Facebook site that's for Czech. How to say that? Localization of a networking academy is a Czech site. For you, I would rather recommend to go to .com site. There is a lot of information. There is also a locator. If you, for example, don't find the course you like in your university or in your faculty, there are a lot of other universities in Prague, and they run also a networking academy. And this is usually the course which is not within your mandatory subjects you have to go through, but it gives you some advantage with some particular subjects as networking science or something like that, right? Again, I'm sitting behind that Facebook profile. It's basically site managed by me and some other people. If you like to contact me by any chance with anything, that's the easiest way. Someone else is reading that as well, so be polite. Now, these are a couple of sites. This is really last slides. Are a couple of sites which might be interesting for you. Annual cybersecurity report. There is always update every half a year with the latest stuff. What happened in the cyberspace? It's pretty cool and nice reading. Cybersecurity solution from Cisco. You can go there and check if I didn't lie you or something. Cisco Networking Academy. That's the thing I mentioned. locator, so you can check for academies around you. And if you don't know this hyperlink, go there and check if your accounts were leaked already or not. It's interesting. It's safe. Don't worry. I wouldn't put it here if it's not safe. And there is Cisco Live on Demand library. It's a little bit more advanced, but if you are interested in some topic, you want to go deeper, that's a pretty good resource, right? And here we go. Thank you very much for your attention.